Chijioke never thought he would return home like this, deported, penniless, and alone. For over 2 decades, he had lived in America, chasing dreams, building a family, and convincing himself that the past was just a shadow he had long outgrown. He sent money home a few times in his early years, but as life got busier, the calls stopped, the visits never happened, and eventually, his ties to Nigeria faded into nothing. But fate has a cruel way of reminding a man where he truly belongs. His deportation had been swift, brutal. One moment, he was in his home with his wife and children. The next, he was in a holding cell, awaiting the flight that would erase everything he had built. The authorities didn't care that he had spent most of his life in the US. They didn't care that his wife was still there, that his children would wake up one day to find their father gone. When he landed in Lagos, it felt like stepping into a past life. The airport smelled of heat, sweat, and impatience. He had no house to return to, no car waiting outside. He sat on his battered suitcase, staring at the chaos around him, wondering where to go. He decided to travel to his village, believing, hoping he would find something familiar. But home was no longer home. The roads had changed. The houses were different. He walked the dusty path leading to where he remembered his family compound should be, but all he found was an unfamiliar row of new buildings. He asked around, mentioning his father's name, his mother's name, but the villagers only stared at him, confused. "Who are you?" one man finally asked. "I'm Chijioke. Chijioke Nwosu." A silence settled around him. A few villagers muttered among themselves before one of them spoke. "Nwosu's son. The one who left many years ago." "Yes." "Where is my family?" The words felt strange on his tongue. He hadn't called them his family in years. The answer came like a slap to the face. "Your parents. They died long ago. Your siblings left. No one knows where they are now. Dead. Gone. Vanished." Chijioke staggered back, his words spinning. He had never even thought to ask about them all these years. He had assumed, like everything else, that they would always be there, frozen in time, waiting for him. Now, he was truly alone. Defeated, he wandered aimlessly through the village, his once confident stride reduced to a broken shuffle. The sun burned his skin, the dust clung to his sweat-soaked clothes. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw her. An old woman, bent with age, standing in front of a small, crumbling hut. Her sharp, wrinkled eyes studied him for a long moment before recognition flickered across her face. "Chijioke," she called softly. He turned sharply, his breath hitching. "Mama Ikin." She nodded, stepping closer. "You have changed, but I know those eyes anywhere. I knew your mother. I knew you when you were just a boy." A lump formed in his throat. Someone remembered him. Someone still saw him as more than a ghost from the past. She took him in, offering a corner of her tiny home, a simple meal, a reminder that he still existed. But that was all. For weeks, Chijioke wandered the village, a man with no roots. He had no land, no inheritance, no job. The once proud returnee from abroad was now the village beggar, depending on the kindness of strangers. The children whispered about him, the men pitied him, and the women shook their heads in silent judgment. He tried to find work, but what could he do? He had spent his life in air-conditioned offices, speaking English that sounded foreign to the villagers. Here, they needed farmers, traders, mechanics, skills he never bothered to learn. So, he started small. Carrying bags in the market. Sweeping compounds. Running errands for pennies. Every night, he lay on his borrowed mat in Mama Ikin's hut, staring at the ceiling, wondering how he had ended up like this. He wanted to start over. But could a man truly start over at his lowest point? As he closed his eyes, listening to the crickets outside, he realized something bitter but true: he had spent his whole life running forward, never once looking back. And now, he had nothing left but the past he abandoned. If you enjoyed this story, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and let me know your favorite part in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories.